Previously on Libel to Bible.
I prevent Scott from discussing the parking situation in my neighborhood.
I didn't have a lot to discuss and wanted to dive right into the Bible.
But not before I discuss the ways to kill particular animals.
I'm pleasantly surprised that the current crop of Israelites is obedient.
I predict eventually, too much comfort will lead to disobedience.
The Israelites set up markers to commemorate the historic crossing.
After years of avoiding it, the Israelites are reminded of their covenant with Yahweh.
Which covenant is that?
The one that leads to a hill of foreskins.
Oh, that's right. It's been some time since the last good circumcision story.
The Israelites agitate the residents of Jericho by blasting shitty ram's horn music until the city surrender.
And now, episode 60 of Libel to Bible.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Rusty.
I am Scott.
And this is Libel the Bible, and you will not catch me hot air ballooning anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? Because I do not want to get shot down by a jet.
Oh, look at it. Look at that nice F-22 coming at us.
So every year, Amy's like, we got to go back to Albuquerque for the... What do you call it? The balloon fiesta.
You have to.
It's like the world's biggest hot air balloon festival. It's gotten smaller over the years, but we caught it 1 year. I know you were there one time.
I was.
Around the time for it, yeah. So
didn't have time to go for a flight, though, because I had to take a flight later that day.
I've never been in a flight either, but now I will definitely never, ever be in a flight because things are being shot down all of a sudden.
That's almost like a skit they're going to have to do this year at the balloon festival. So we just got to shoot down one. Planned, not randomly.
Yeah. So what's the context for our conversation?
Context?
So the audience knows, let's say 2 years from now someone's listening to this episode.
Yeah, so last week a giant Chinese spy balloon was shot down by some Jewish space lasers.
Alleged spy balloon, right?
Yeah.
We assume it's a spy balloon. We're not sure.
Well, you know how I know it's a spy balloon? Because they said it wasn't a spy balloon. And you know them Chinese people, man.
Never trying to outsmart you.
Yeah. Thinking we're stupid.
So go ahead.
So after that, 3 more much smaller devices at lower altitudes were not identified. I mean, they were not classified, just shot down.
So do you know why we're finding all of these things all of a sudden?
I believe we fine-tuned our radars to be looking for them now.
So not so much fine-tuned. We expanded the parameters for what's searchable. So now almost everything in the sky is just being found. I didn't realize there was so much shit in our sky.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Well, listen, I said this last time that you test the waters, you push a little harder, and if you don't meet resistance, you get bolder and bolder.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling China's been sending these balloons over and over again, and they've been getting bigger and bigger, and then finally someone said, yo, just send 3 school buses in size, because they'll just let us do anything.
But what does that say about the state of, satellites, spy satellites? I thought Google Earth can take a photo of, my apartment building. That's Google Earth. Yeah. That's Google satellite.
Yeah, my man, that satellite the balloons seem very unnecessary.
I've seen Jason Bourne movies. I know they can position a satellite and take a photo of a person doing, an arms deal somewhere in, Tajikistan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's with the balloon?
Here's what it is, man. And, I'm just making jokes about the Chinese people, but, yeah, their technology sucks, man. Technology sucks. They bite off everybody's shit.
I know.
And they make it cheap, and so they probably don't have the satellite technology we have. Yeah, the satellite technology exists, but they copied it poorly from us. So they fucking said, fuck it, let's send a balloon up.
All
it's cheaper, much cheaper.
Let's be serious for a second. Do you really believe that their military spy balloons are cheaply made? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm asking.
No, I was just goofing.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying it's probably much cheaper to do than launch a satellite into orbit.
You're saying, I get it. It's a
no, I wasn't
joke.
saying that. I thought we were being serious for a second. No, it's just much cheaper to use a balloon than launch a satellite.
No, but they have satellites. And they have unlimited...
Why? Because they tell you they
have
do?
unlimited amounts of money. We buy everything from them.
True.
That's why they don't give a fuck about our, what do you call it, loans that we owe them, you know?
Yeah.
We owe them like trillions of dollars.
And we'll owe them trillions or more when Biden
don't
gets done with
care.
the economy.
Speaking of Biden, he gave his State of the Union
I
speech.
missed it.
I didn't watch it either, but from everything I understand, he front-loaded it with economic issues, which is like very unusual. And
Get the boring shit out of the way first.
like most people only listen to the first half hour. So like he's positioning himself to run for president, and this is like pretty much the platform that he is declaring, and it sounds like it's going to be one of economics. So we'll see how that works out. I don't want to get too into the weeds of like the political fight because I don't have it in me tonight to do that.
I'll just take a hard left then. The reason I missed the State of the Union, and I actually watch them usually, is I went to a Phoenix Suns Brooklyn Nets game at the Barclays Center.
After everyone got traded away.
You
don't know about any of this?
I know nothing about basketball.
Oh my God.
So my
So really quickly, like 3 years ago, 3 of the best players in the league, right? Like 2 MVPs and 1 guy who's like right there as an MVP. They all came to the Brooklyn Nets to play together, and it was inevitable that they were going to win a championship. They didn't. They're all like malcontents in their own like way.
yeah.
And now they're all 3 gone within like 3 years.
Wow.
No championship, 1 playoff series victory. So you probably went after like they all got traded away. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they were just like traded in the last like 2 weeks. 2 huge superstars
That's
in the
funny
league.
because So the reason I went was because I'm a corporate sellout, and my company has a suite there.
Oh, nice.
So they decided to have like a thank you, like come down, so it's free, you know.
You didn't tell me I thought you was in a seat. I didn't know you was all up there in a suite.
Dude, it was
a corporate suite.
16-person suite. So you got the 16 seats in front of your kitchen area. It was real nice, man. That's the way to go see a game that I didn't bother watching because I was too busy.
Yeah, you're in the suite, man. Yeah, you didn't give a fuck.
So my vice president was there, and I was like, I don't know nothing about basketball. So I was like, yo, Chris, when does the Zamboni come out? That thing that cleans the court. And he was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? So I kept asking him weird, like,
not everyone gets you like me, Scott. Not everyone gets you like me. I mean, I'm not saying I laugh at those jokes, but at least like I'm not like, what? What are you saying?
No, he kind of like laughed politely, like, yeah, you're not getting a raise this year. Not with those jokes. He should retort it with like, I thought your work was the only bad joke you produced.
I thought that yeah, you thought, Spider.
I thought you said I was a right, Spider. Whatever, man.
It's funny how like Joe Pesci keeps getting cast in like intimidating roles, and he's like 5'1" and like a little guy with like a little like peep squeak voice.
There's a Family Guy episode where they pull like Joe Pesci up, like a big guy grabs Joe Pesci by the collar, and they're like, "What is that?" And like in the '80s, we used to call this a tough guy. Like, it's pretty funny.
I mean, he just made a movie where he was a tough guy. Yeah.
So the Barclays Center was interesting. So I don't often ride the subway at night anymore. Like I barely rode the subway since like COVID started, right? So I get on the train, transfer to the local at Nostrand Avenue. You know these stations. You went to school down there. And sure enough, I'm on the lower platform. 2 guys come down the stairs, wrap around the stairs. 1 guy pulls his dick out and just pisses right there behind the staircase.
Oh, gross.
Listen, I've pissed on subway platforms, man. I ain't no better than anybody else. Yeah. But I go down to the end of the platform and almost onto the track where I can almost hide what I'm doing.
I mean, honestly, I would expect that like in the 80s. But like in the 90s, like the C line isn't what it used to be. Yeah. You know, like the upper part isn't what it used to be. I remember one time. So we took the train through the heart of Bedford-Stuy to get to our school in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And we took the C line, and it went right through the heart of Bedford-Stuyvesant, which was like, you know, a pretty like rough neighborhood in the 80s, like the crack epidemic, like just like the inner city was being decimated by deindustrialization, jobs were like leaving, and like our like inner cities like looked like bombed out.
Yeah, it was fucking
like
awful.
Bombed out,
it was
you
fucking
know?
awful. Blocks on blocks of abandoned buildings.
And what was horrible was Bedford-Stuyvesant has beautiful like row houses, brownstones, like beautiful. But it was bombed out, and I really didn't know until one time like the train like stopped and it didn't go, and like I had to get off
It
at
stopped
like
and it didn't go.
Well, it stopped like it. It's at Utica. It wasn't moving. Like for whatever reason, we all had to get off and we had to like walk. And I like got out on Utica Avenue and I was like, holy fuck! I thought I was like in downtown Beirut after like a bombing. You know what I mean? It was like the first time that I'd really like been like outside by myself, like in like the thick of like the inner city like ghetto, and it was like, whoa. So in today's world, it's not like that. It's gentrified at this point.
Yeah, now the only thing that's bankrupt is its culture.
So my point was that in the 80s, I would have expected to see like someone
funny.
like pissing like in the
It was
staircase.
funny. Like it was like not even a big deal.
Yeah.
Like literally like while talking to his buddy, he's like, hang on. He just turned around, whipped it out, and took a piss against the tiles. Yeah. All right.
So you know what the lesson is?
What?
New York needs more public restrooms. We don't have enough public restrooms in the city.
I overheard a blurb. I didn't get into it, but I hear they're opening up some subway station bathrooms again.
I
Well,
mean,
the last time I was in a subway station bathroom, like 8 dudes on roller skates came in. With baseball
that's the
bats.
problem, right? Like the violence that's going to occur in those bathrooms. But we need like even like if they were like pay toilets like they have in Europe. They have like pay toilets in Europe. Like set some shit up like on the streets of Manhattan.
They used to have that, remember? You could pay like a quarter on the streets.
I don't remember.
Like Union Square had one. Like you go and like after you come out of it, like it gets robot clean. Like it sprays it and everything. And then some fucking jerk off when you're not allowed to charge for bathrooms. It's right here in some code.
Oh, okay. Well,
so instead of making them free, they got rid of all of them.
Well, they could have rewritten the code. They could have passed legislation.
Exactly. So, and I don't believe it's technically illegal to pee in public anymore.
Yeah.
Because, how can you stop someone from having to perform a bodily function?
James, our friend James, he peed one time in Greenwich Village on LaGuardia. You know, like LaGuardia and like Third Street, like that major like road where NYU is. There was a phone booth there, but it wasn't like a Superman phone booth that you run in. It was a fucking quarter phone booth.
Yes.
He got into the quarter phone booth, so like his upper torso is enclosed, but like his lower half where he's like unzipping his pants and just pissing is totally like exposed.
And he's got the phone.
So anyone like walking by, they can't see who's doing it, but they see that someone's fucking doing it.
He's got the receiver in his shoulder between his
pretending like,
seen him do that. Maybe I was there to say maybe it was one time he did it.
Yeah.
Probably
So
not
shout
one
out
time.
to James. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
You want to get into this?
Yeah, I guess.
No, you don't. No.
Yeah,
Joshua
yeah,
7.
Joshua. Yeah, let's
Going
Joshua
once, going
7.
twice.
Oops, I'm on. Yeah, Joshua 7.
It's funny because just as we were commending the Israelites
You were.
for obeying, not veering off the path of Yahweh's command, we have the sin of Achan and its punishment. Achan? Is that how you would say
That
it?
sounds good. And I'm going to tell you this. When I first read the title, The Sin of Achan and Its Punishment, I assumed that was the next city they were going to sack. And they were going to use the sin as the excuse to justify why it was okay to go murder everybody.
Yes.
Well, I was mistaken.
It's a smart assumption to make, yeah. Well, it's going to twist and turn from that into something else. But I would like to mention something. Achan. You know what it reminds me of?
Achan?
Achan. Remember that game?
Yeah, that game was fucking dope.
So for anybody that doesn't know, there was a game on Commodore called Achan. It was like a chess game, but each piece was like, so instead of like rooks, you'd have like a phoenix, and it could like do certain things. Instead of like a pawn, you'd have like a caveman with like a club. And you would play it like chess, but then like once a piece would land on another piece, they would have to like battle it out.
Yeah.
That shit was fucking cool. Cool game.
I'll tell you this. Yeah, it was like a 2D version of like Star Wars Hollow Chess on the Millennium Falcon almost.
So, I'm sorry, before you continue, I don't want to ruin your train of thought, but
I'm sure you don't.
do you think that this is gaining us like the 18 to 24-year-old demographic, or do you think it's driving them away in droves?
Wait a minute. I'll tell you this. Archon's probably a game that should be remade for the modern...
I agree, man.
Because that was kick-ass.
Archon was fucking awesome.
For its time, it's like, yeah. So you remember you mentioned the Phoenix.
Yeah.
That was a tough character to fight with.
It was.
Yeah, like you hit the button and you
had
a fireball.
It was about timing.
Yeah.
You had to time it.
So it was
right.
hard to fight anybody with ranged abilities, So, but yeah. You know what game sucked? Archon 2.
Archon, yeah.
I think there was a 3, but I never saw it. We didn't get a bootleg.
How can you improve upon like the original version unless like you were gonna like improve graphics, and you can't make a different game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Archon.
Yeah. Shout out. So the sin of Achan and its punishment. So if you recall, when they sacked Jericho, they were told like, don't like take anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like don't only what? Like there were certain things that they were allowed to take.
Food they could take, all the precious minerals had to go to Yahweh. So basically, just go murder everybody.
Yeah, no trinkets or anything like that.
I think some livestock they were allowed to keep, right? Some food, some shit like that.
So Joshua 7 starts, but the Israelites broke faith in regard to the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, not Cami.
No.
Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zebdi, son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of the devoted things, and the anger of the Lord burned against the Israelites.
Now, what I like about this is they don't often do this. So they gave you a synopsis of what happened, and then they should say, and here is the story. Because then they go back and they actually tell you the story. So
Yes.
they gave you the synopsis, and then they go back and tell you the story.
That's what I like.
So
You're right.
It's a little
That's
different.
a good point.
Different, man.
Absolutely.
It all began one summer day. Jericho was burning at our feet.
Here's my problem with this, though. So this guy's sinned now, right?
Well, we don't know what it is yet.
We don't know.
Well, he knows he took devoted things. Right.
Right. So we know that he sinned. So now we're going to read a section, right? And the section is going to make us want to think. I'm assuming the objective of this is for us to say, damn, Yahweh's like turned his back on like these people, and that's why this has happened. Whereas I'm like, this was just poor planning. Like this resulted from poor planning more than anything.
And I'll tell you what, the poor planners got away with one here.
All right. So let's get into this. Joshua, right? So now
They send spies.
they send spies to check out this town called Ai.
Yeah, that's a
And
creative
spies
name.
come back, and Joshua 3. Then they returned to Joshua and said to him, not all the people need to go up. About 2,000 or 3,000 men should go up and attack Ai. Since they are so few, do not make the whole people toil up there. So about 3,000 of the people went up there, and they fled before the men of Ai. The men of Ai killed about 36 of them, chasing them from outside the gate as far as Shebarim, and killing them on the slope. The hearts of the people melted and turned to water.
Okay, so my question is, were there a hell of a lot more people in the town and these guys couldn't fucking count? Or were they stronger than they appeared to be? So they might have had smaller numbers. Like, why only send 3,000? You said that with some confidence.
I said that with confidence?
No, these spies. Don't send everybody. Send like 3,000. Are they overly confident? They thought God was going to do all the heavy lifting for them?
That's a good point. I didn't consider that. Maybe that's why they underestimated how many men they would need, or they were just like, they were overconfident from what they did in Jericho.
I bet you these two spies, instead of spying, were probably in the Hua house like the other spies, and they just didn't go as well.
And they were like, yo, for argument's sake, they're like laying in bed with the whore, you know? For argument's sake, how many men would it take like to take over this whole town? Like, what do you think? Like, just... And the whore was like, I don't know, like, what, 3,000?
Yeah.
You think that's what happened?
What would be cool is if she looked at another whore and they high-fived. Like, yeah, suckers, we got these suckers.
By the way, again, the original whore that they fucking, they kept her alive and her whole family, right? She told them, like, I want to do this for you because we have heard of like everything that Yahweh is, and we're all afraid of you, and all the kings are trembling and everyone's running scared. But so far, none of these like other kings have seemed to be like running scared. Like they seem to be attacking, and like look at what happened in Ai. They tried to invade and they got repelled.
But now let me ask you this. They say I killed about 36 of them. So let's say So let's assume 3,000 went up, and only 30 and 36 were killed. Those seem like
bad numbers.
Those seem like good numbers, right?
That's
like
not
you're
bad
doing
numbers.
All right.
Yes.
So they said they fled before the men of Ai. So did they go into the town, realize they were completely outmatched? They spun around and ran without a shot fired. They got chased, and 36 were killed on the slope before they could get away. So I think they turned tail immediately. They're like, yo, these spies did not give a good report, and they turned them away immediately.
All right, let's read it again. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right.
Start at 4.
So about 3,000 of the people went up there. So they went up to Ai, and they fled
so they
before the men of Ai.
Okay, so they ran right away.
The men of Ai killed about 36 of them, chasing them from outside the gate. So they got to the gate, and like they were like met with like a resistance.
Okay.
And then they were like, ah! And they fled, retreat, retreat. And then like, the men from Ai were like, rabble, 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 rabble. And they caught up to them. Killed like 36 of them.
The hearts of the people melted and turned to water.
Yeah, it seems like where's the resolve of the people? So if I was Yahweh, I'd be having PTSD at this point. Like, here we go again, you know?
I think we're going to find out Yahweh fucked up on this one. He trusted Joshua a little too much, as we'll get to. We'll get to it.
Well, I mean, look. He tried the whole micromanaging thing.
Fair enough.
For 6 days. He micromanaged everything. He was so tired, he had to make like Adam.
Oh, you mean those 6 days? Okay.
Yeah, the original 6 days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then like he was done. Like after those 6 days, he was done. He made Adam, and he told Adam, yo, name all this shit that I've made. You know what I mean? Like get to work. And oh, by the way, repopulate the planet because I'm done like doing any of that fucking heavy lifting. He chills basically all the time.
Like, is it up to the scientists that created the Genesis device in Star Trek? They made the planet. Like, is it up to them to like plant this shit on it now? That should be somebody else's job.
Okay, but you don't create like a being as a slave and say like maybe like hire people, maybe rotate people in and out. You can't like create a being to be your slave.
Apparently you can.
Well, if you're Yahweh. All right. So,
and isn't that what we're doing with our robots?
All the Israelites are like, 36 people died, even though we've just already crossed the Jordan. We've already taken over Jericho. Like 36 people have died out of like 1 million. You're right.
And like every one of these people that are crying about these 36 have each probably taken 36 lives of their own.
Yeah.
Like in a gruesome way, like a rod up someone's ass through their throat.
So, of course, like Joshua, he falls down prone on the ground, and he says in Joshua 7, "Oh, Lord God, why have you brought this people across the Jordan at all to hand us over to the Amorites so as to destroy us? Would that we had been content to settle beyond the Jordan? Oh, Lord, what can I say now that Israel has turned their backs to their enemies? The Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land will hear of it and surround us and cut off our name from the earth. Then what will you do for your great name?"
Wow, let me just take a deep breath from listening to that. So here's where I was like, here we go again.
Yeah.
They're whining about the manna. They're whining about no water. They're now whining about, why'd you do this to us? And I'm like, this is just a replay. Like Joshua and the new power generation is none of that.
I'm going to say this, Scott. I don't know if anybody's ever said this. I'm going to go out on a limb. And I'm going to say, I think that Yahweh and the Israelites are in like a toxic enabling relationship with one another. Like they enable one another.
Okay.
Like the Israelites put up with Yahweh's shit. Yahweh tolerates the Israelites for whatever reason, but until he doesn't, and he has these moments where like he's like an abusive husband that like lashes out, hurts the wife, and then is like realizes like what he's done like once he calms down, is like makes promises.
That's on our website too. Abusive husband is one of the one of the
it's a good picture
too.
So they are not good for each other, these people.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
You started this with, I don't know if anyone's ever said this before. I know it's been said before. Because that one dude on Reddit said, why would I listen to these two dicks talk about the Bible? I've heard every possible.
I heard everything, yeah.
What are you fucking Yahweh, this guy? This guy's Yahweh over here.
Not for nothing, but then you know what? Like, maybe people should stop making movies and books because all the stories have been told.
Yeah.
At this point, you're not listening. If people are listening, I guarantee you no one's listening right now to get their Bible content from us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hope we didn't think it was serious. Like, we've got some new shit to reveal. We're going to get right back to the show, but before we do, we'd like to invite you to come visit our Patreon.
Each week, we discuss a new topic at the intersection of society and religion.
We explore the encroachment of religion onto secular institutions, such as schools, workplaces, and government.
In addition, we'll investigate whether religion practices what it preaches.
So, after this episode, head on over to patreon.com/Libel to Bible and join in the conversation.
And now, back to the show.
Speaking of that, well, it's not really. So I was leaving here to do something today, and before I could, one of my neighbors pulled up, and she started talking to me about something, and then she was like, "Oh, you never told me. What's your podcast about?" I was like, "I ain't got time to get into it right now." She said, "Nah, tell me," because I had given her a tour of like the work I'm doing, and I said, "All right, you're not gonna like it though." She's like, "Try me." I was like, "It's all about the Bible," and she went, "That's fantastic!" Like, exclaimed this. And I was like, no, I don't think you get this.
It's called Libel, the Bible.
So she was like, oh. And then she started getting into the story. So I said, we have to talk later. I'm in a rush, so I'm going to have to explain this to somebody.
Well, the Lord is in a rush. So the Lord responds to Joshua.
Before he responds, I put a note here saying, why is this whiny bitch blaming Yahweh? He needs to smack the shit out of those two spies.
Well, I just explained. Like, I went through that. Like, you brought that up. And I said, they're like in a toxic, like, enabling relationship. This is their dynamic.
Well,
so now Yahweh's like Big Daddy coming to the rescue. You know, he's like, Daddy. So the Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. Why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned. They have transgressed my man. I'm going to start over. I'm going to reread it. Then I'm going to edit it out. I won't really edit it out. But so people are going to have to hear this twice.
Do you think this brings in the 16 to 27 demographic?
Stand up. Why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned. They have transgressed my covenant that I imposed on them. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have acted deceitfully, and they have put them among their own belongings." Again, this is the whole, like, he micromanages because he doesn't want to get poisoned by, like, some shit that they've taken. So he's very specific about what's allowed to be taken because Yahweh forbid they take something that's toxic to him.
Good point. I did not think of that because they were just specifically talking about the precious metals, and I figured he was just trying to glom all the good stuff. But Yahweh's making this shit up. This whole thing about someone stealing shit, I'm going to tell you this, and we'll get to it when we get to it. A lot of people probably stole shit. A lot of people are like, nobody's looking. I'm going to take that gold bar, that silver shekel. I'm going to do all that. This is Yahweh's excuse for not looking at the battle plan. And like saying, whoa, no, you're not going there with 3,000 men. The reason you fucking lost was because you disobeyed me. Somebody stole some shit. 1 million people sacked the city. You can trust me that a bunch of people stole shit. So he's saying something that's obvious.
This is like revisionist history. Like, the events already happened, and then, like, people are like, oh, we must have lost because...
Well, it's sort of like, and, I don't know if anybody knows this, Turkey and Syria had a big earthquake. Lots of people. It's just horrific.
Horrific.
Yeah. So now Turkey's going after some of the contractors for shoddy workmanship, shoddy building practices. Yep. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to be punished, but I also think a lot of people in the government are going, it was their fault.
Wow.
Because you took the fucking bribes, asshole.
Absolutely.
You allowed this shit to go on.
Absolutely.
So it's a fucking divert, and that's what this is.
Absolutely.
Somebody stole some shit, not because I didn't okay the battle plan.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yahweh continues. Therefore, the Israelites are unable to stand before their enemies. By the way, Notice how he's like the Israelites, like the others. Like he is constantly saying they're his people, like he's like they're his children. But here he's like the Israelites. Therefore, the Israelites are unable to stand before their enemies. They turn their backs to their enemies because they have become a thing devoted for destruction themselves. I will be with you no more unless you destroy the devoted things from among you. Proceed to sanctify the people and say, sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, for thus says the Lord, the God of Israel. There are devoted things among you, O Israel. You will be unable to stand before your enemies until you take away the devoted things from among you.
Yeah. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Did you bullshit this week? Did you try to bullshit this week? He goes on.
All right.
In the morning, therefore, you shall come forward tribe by tribe. The tribe that the Lord takes shall come near by clans. The clan that the Lord takes shall come near by households. And the household that the Lord takes shall come near one by one. And the one who is taken as having the devoted things shall be burned with fire, together with all that he has, for having transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and for having done an outrageous thing in Israel.
So that's a long way of saying, okay, Gibeonites, line up. Then we went by clan. Then we went by house. So basically, he's bringing everybody in for an interrogation.
It's like one of those investigations in the office when, like, you know, an administrator freaks out over, like, a missing, like, pen or something, and then calls people in one by one to, like, terrorize them and intimidate them. And the worst part is, maybe, like, don't say that you're gonna, like, burn them with fire. Maybe they'll come forward. You know what I mean? You catch more flies with honey.
Well, you know what? Maybe he only told Joshua this. Joshua didn't say, "Who's got the shit? We're gonna burn you."
He's telling Joshua, tell them this. He's saying, this is what you're gonna tell them.
Maybe that's so people around him, like when Rusty sacks Jericho, he goes, "Yo, Scott, man, check out this urn I took." He's hoping that I turn on you because I don't want to be fucking burned.
No, I mean, that's possible, but I think Yahweh's a little like me. He's like a control freak, and like things have to be exactly his way. And if people don't follow the rules, like he fucking snaps.
Well, it's like you, and it's also like you said, if you don't do it, someone's gonna fuck it up. Like this battle plan just now.
Right.
Like what the fuck?
Right.
Whose plan was this?
And he tells them to do shit for a reason, Scott. Yeah. Things are told to people for a reason. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So they
need to be done a certain way, Scott. You understand what I'm saying? You understand?
Yeah. So they got to the tribe of Judah, all right?
Yeah.
All right. And then they got to the clan of the Zerarites, and then they took the household, and Zabdi, the household of Zabdi, was taken, and then he was brought near his household one by one, and Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, and one of the tribe of Judah was taken.
Yep.
Then I feel like you should read it because you do voices. So.
No, go ahead. You do the voice.
I'm not doing the voice.
I think you should do the voice.
I can't do the voice.
You're embarrassed? You can.
You listen. All right, listen, man. Maybe I'll do it in the shower a couple of times before I do it publicly. I'm not doing the voice today.
But you're not publicly. Like, we're sitting in a room together. You don't want to do the voice? It's fun.
You know, maybe if you hadn't set the bar so high.
Nah, come on. It's fun.
No,
do a voice.
I can't. I'm not doing the voice, man. Then Joshua said to Achan, "My son, give glory to the Lord." See, I can't do the voice.
Well, no one talks like that.
How do you know these people don't talk like that?
Give him some flourish.
Yeah. Hey!
Yeah, there you
my
go.
My son, give glory to the Lord God of Israel and make confession to him. Tell me now what you have done. Do not hide it from me.
Yeah.
This is every episode of fucking Law and Order. They're in the interrogation room.
Oh, yes.
He has done this to every single person. Nobody's cracked so far. This punk is the first one to crack. Or he maybe is the first one that actually stole something. So he's like, it is true. I am the one who sinned against the Lord God of Israel. This is what I did. When I saw among the spoil a beautiful mantle, No, the mantle's the thing above the fireplace, right?
I mean, okay, yes.
Nobody noticed dude walking with a mantle on his shoulder.
Well, it could have been like a small mantle, you know what I mean?
All right.
That he put his golden like idol on.
Yeah.
He's like, I had a golden idol. I needed to display it.
A beautiful mantle from Shinar and 200 shekels of silver and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels. Then I coveted them and took them. They now lie hidden in the ground inside my tent with the silver underneath. So he cracked. And they're gonna focus all of the failure on this one man because he stole a fucking mantle. Yeah. So Joshua sent messengers. They ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in his tent with the silver underneath. They took him out of the tent and brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites, and they spread them out before the Lord. It's like when the cops do a drug bust and gun bust, they put the table out and they show like all the drugs and the guns. Here's the evidence.
Then Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, son of Zerah, with the silver, the mantle, and the bar of gold, with his sons and daughters, with his oxen, donkeys, and sheep, and his tent, and all that he had. This is like the season episode 9, season 1 of Game of Thrones, where they're about to kill like Eddard Stark, you know, and like it's like a whole production.
Is that actually episode 9, season 1?
Yeah.
That's like some Rain Man shit you just did.
Why?
You know exactly episode 9, season 1 was
because it's 10 episodes in a season, and it was the episode.
Whatever your
before
mnemonic
the finale.
device is, whatever. Weird.
Joshua said, "Why did you bring trouble on us?" He's addressing Achan.
Yeah.
Why did you bring? Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not Joshua. That was too butch. Joshua's not that butch. Joshua's more like, you know, he's more like a twink, but like maybe not a full on.
Do men get referred to as butches?
Bears.
Oh, okay.
More like bears.
All right.
But you can be a butch too.
Okay.
All right.
Yo, so hold on. My brother-in-law has a friend down south, and he's got a friend named Butch. Mm-hmm. Like, it's, to me, come on, it's just a funny name to me. Yo, so I was like, oh, wait till I meet this guy and like fucking give him some shit about his name. Yo, man, he was like 6'5", 300 pounds, hugeness, like spitting chewing tobacco while he talks. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna make fun of that dude's name. Call him whatever he wants.
Remember
to be
we
called.
played like softball with some guy named Steak.
And meat and potatoes, right? That was a weird crew.
All right. Why did you bring trouble on us? The Lord is bringing trouble on you today. And all Israel stoned them to death. They burned them with fire, cast stones on them, and raised over him a great heap of stones that remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his burning anger. Therefore, that place to this day is called the Valley of Achan, which means trouble.
So let's get back to when Joshua said, why did you bring trouble on us? The Lord's bringing trouble on you today. It's like, you fucked around. You're
Right.
about to find out.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. He fucked around and found out.
So now I want to talk about Valley of Achor. His name is Achan.
That's the first thing you want to talk about, not the fact that they burned like him and his children his like possessions.
No, I want to rewind even further. So they went to the tent, found all the contraband,
Yes.
brought it to wherever they brought it, the gate,
Yeah.
and then they took him, all his stuff, and his tent and brought it to the gate.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just do all of this at his tent? Why go through the trouble of moving all of this shit?
Because they're going to like stone him and burn him.
And you can't do that in the camp? In town?
No, there's not, because the tent is probably too close to other tents. You need like a big like opening where you can like have a lot of people like throwing like rocks. You know what I'm saying? You need like an open field.
Yeah, you fucking break your neighbor's window like a dick. Like, yeah, you don't want to
no.
do that. Yeah, all right, fair enough. And you know what? He should be carrying.
And
that
they're
shit.
gonna burn him too, so there's no room to like, you know, you don't want to burn anything like in the fucking village.
So wait. So he took a mantle. Did they dismantle him? This is where dismantle came from.
That's good, Scott. Those are the jokes you should be telling like your boss.
Yes, I'm gonna bring up fucking Bible verses. Hear thee. All right, we can talk about so they killed everybody in the family.
I mean, we could talk about it, or we could just mention it.
Like, do we even mention this anymore? It's ridiculous.
Well, we definitely have to mention it. We have to like remind people this is
All right, this is an atrocity.
yes.
The guy was a thief, Was he even a thief?
His children. What did his
Oh,
children have to do?
All right, even if he was guilty and the crime is death, yeah, what the hell did the ox is like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah.
Oh, the ox had to carry that mantle. He couldn't carry that mantle.
The ox knew.
The ox fucking
And
knew.
the donkey and the sheep. It's not the sheep's fault. The sheep just goes along, right?
Well, they asked the sheep if he did, and he was like, nah.
It's good, Scott.
All
Let's
right, I want
go
to roll
on to Joshua 8.
Wait, before we do that.
Go ahead.
So the Valley of Achor, his name was Achan. So Valley of Achor means trouble, so it's the Valley of Trouble. So did they just play off his name? They like twisted his name to mean trouble after the fact? Like Achan is trouble, but it didn't work, so they changed it slightly. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
No, I'm being serious. Like,
Yeah,
they
that makes
probably-
sense. That makes sense.
All right.
Because how the fuck would someone writing this know what some dude's name was like fucking a million years ago? Yeah. So they made up the name, and they were like, that name means trouble. Duh, that's why this place is called duh. And then somebody was like, you think people are going to believe this? And they were like, duh, have you seen fucking people? Duh, they're stupid. Yeah, they're going to believe it.
Yeah, don't.
The problem is that was like the year like 3000 BC. All right, they should have believed it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're like 6,000 years later. Like, what are you doing?
All right, so
Get your shit together, man.
all right, so we
Get your shit together.
All right. That.
All right.
So you can go to Joshua 8 now. Now that we've completely ignored the fact
Yeah.
that the government fucked up the attack,
The Chinese
lost the
weather
battle.
balloon?
No, this government here, the congregation, whoever's in charge, fucked up the plan. They got routed, and now we focused all our anger on one dude and his family.
Right.
Now that makes it all right.
Yeah.
Do you think Yahweh woke up and goes, wait, they're already attacking? Wait, 3,000? Like, it was too late, right? Like, he probably woke up in the middle of it. Like,
I think they're like vampires in a certain way. They need like bloodletting every once in a while, because now they're like, there's like some bloodletting went on, right? And now like it cleared their minds, and now they're gonna come up with a strategy that's like decent. They actually came up with a strategy this time.
Yes.
So the strategy is basically like,
Oh, you got to read the title.
oh, I'm sorry, Joshua 8. I captured by a stratagem and destroyed.
You don't see that word enough.
Stratagem.
All right. Remember Stratego? You used to play Stratego, I bet.
I did not play Stratego.
Oh, you played Risk, right? You were a Risk guy.
I like Risk.
All right, carry on.
Okay. I thought that was going to lead to something. It would have been good if it did, but okay, you're getting there. Joshua 8. Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear or be dismayed. Take all the fighting men with you and go up to Ai. See, I have handed over to you the king of Ai with his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may take its spoil and plunder its livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush against the city behind it.
Achan is literally crawling out his dead body out of those stones, that heap of stones, going, what the fuck? But if Achan showed more patience and just stole shit in the next city of sacking, he wouldn't be dead right now.
No, because okay. Scott, it's very obvious what's going on here. Here's what's going on. Yahweh sets up rules, right? But his rules are so strict, people are invariably going to break them, right? So then he realizes, damn, that rule is like really strict. I'm going to be killing a lot of people.
I like it.
So he makes an adjustment to that rule.
Nice.
You know what I mean? He's like adjusting, trying to find the line where like just enough people will follow the rules without him having to kill the majority of them.
Right. I like that thinking.
So I think that's what's going on.
As soon as I said it and you started talking, I was like, yeah, he's making adjustments on the fly. Yeah. But in that vein, how come all the people they killed for
I got a
breaking
vein
rules
for you right here.
all the rules that were broken before that are no longer illegal, should these people be released from prison if the crime is no longer a crime?
No, because it's not about the law. It's about the disobedience of Yahweh. You can't disobey Yahweh's commands.
So all those marijuana crimes, people should stay in prison because it was about the disobedience to the state.
No, because that analogy doesn't work because that's the state. That's not Yahweh.
All right. Well played.
Thank you.
basically, they have permission to like.
I'm saying Yahweh's like a special case, and you can't compare the shit that happens on Earth to the shit that happens with this make-believe deity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I'm thinking, but now if this goes wrong, what's the excuse going to be?
Scott, this is a book about like God and like rules set forth. In order for people to read and be preached this book, in order to keep them like in line in a certain like way. You understand?
Speaking of the book, my neighbor I was talking to said she read, I don't know what she said, but she basically said they found...
My neighbor I was talking to, I don't know what she said, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
They said that they found like more books in like the tombs of the Vatican or the catacombs of the Vatican or something. Yeah. I'm probably thinking it was like the ones with the dragons and shit like that.
Yeah, they found like child porn books in the tombs of the Vatican. That's what they found.
That's
fucking pedophiles. Goddamn fucking pederasts. What?
What? What?
Pederast. It's a pedophile. It's the same thing. Pederast, pedophile. Different ways of saying it. They just fucking like the church in San Diego, the Archdiocese of San Diego. They're bankrupt now because they have to settle all these like fucking child sex abuse cases. It's like $500 billion.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're going bankrupt.
All right, so let me ask you this, Russ.
You know what the problem is, Scott, before you ask me? The problem isn't even that it happened. Oh, it happened. The problem is that it was fucking covered up.
Institutionalized, man.
That's right. It was covered up, and like they didn't even do anything about the priests. They just fucking sent them to other fucking parishes. They sent them for like re-education bullshit, you know? And they knew what was going on. That's the fucked up part. Not the part that was happening, the part that it was being enabled.
Yeah. So they just sent those pet their asses somewhere else, right?
And that it's like they're supposed to be like holy and like we're supposed to like fucking listen to them. And they actually have the nerve, you know, like about this pre-caner nonsense. Like when people get married, like they got to meet with a fucking priest. Like what the fuck would this fucking man know about fucking giving advice about a fucking marriage?
Considering they're not even allowed to be married.
Marrying a fucking 8-year-old boy?
Oh, shit. Oof. You want to talk about what happened to you? No shame in it, man. It's not your fault.
I mean, it's the hypocrisy. You know what I mean?
No,
like
absolutely.
the fucking hypocrisy.
Absolutely. Like I told you, the scariest part of the whole thing was when I realized, not that even that it was being covered up, that people were definitely joining the priesthood because they knew they could get away with it. It was part of like the incentive to join.
Yeah. By the way, I know what we should talk about in our Patreon content.
All right.
You know what we should talk about?
No.
You watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
In
a group,
did you
so I
see the commercials?
So a couple of Jesus ones and a Scientology one.
So you saw the Jesus commercial.
Yeah. It was the best commercial up to that point.
So
but
the Jesus commercial was all about like, hey, we should all be together and don't fucking like, so what? So these people stormed the fucking Capitol, like, you know, they're still like your brothers, you know what I mean? Because Jesus loved everybody.
That was the second one, I think.
Okay, so here's the point. That commercial was paid for by the people that wrote the fucking all the briefs for the Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe versus Wade. So basically, that commercial was funded by, shit, I forgot the name of that fucking organization. We can look it up before we do
HeGetsUs.org or some shit, something like that.
Well, no, that's the website, but it's like the Coalition for Catholic, whatever is like the official name, whatever it is. They were like the lobbyists that basically wrote like the fucking opinions for the justices.
That's interesting.
For overturning Roe versus Wade. So we can talk about that. And like, not just that, we could talk about how atheist organizations have tried to book commercials and have been fucking denied.
That's interesting.
So we should discuss that.
That's good.
For our Patreon after this show today. For our Patreon.
Hey, Rusty, why don't you tell everybody how you say familiarity?
Like your mother with a dick in her mouth.
Whoa.
I mean, not your mother. You know
no,
what
you're
I'm saying?
fine. No,
I'm
I got
saying,
it.
like,
I
you
know what you
like
meant.
your
Yeah.
mother. Like, your mother.
I got you.
Not your mother, just your mother.
Your mama's so fat. So, set an ambush against the city behind it. So now, they sent 30,000 warriors to go hide behind the city. That's 10 times the amount these spies said to send. But that wasn't even good enough. They're going to hide out. Then another 5,000 are going to rush the front gate. They're going to bang on the gate.
They've got a whole plan, man.
Yeah,
It's a whole plan.
Fantastic. So basically, they turn and run.
This was like a scene in The Patriot, by the way.
Dude, that's my note. They did this in The Patriot. I love that. I rewind that scene.
Yeah.
So, so the 5,000 bang on the gate. They feign like they're scared. They run away. They draw all the warriors out of the city. And then the 30,000 people sack the city. They light this shit on fire. Mm-hmm. And now the warriors that chased the 5,000 turn around and go, oh shit, our city's on fire. Yep. Too late. Because now these 30,000 people done burning shit. Now you're surrounded. And it's just a fucking, what do you call it? It's like a blender. They're just getting chopped up in a blender.
Then, Joshua 18, the Lord said to Joshua, stretch out the sword that is in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand. And Joshua stretched out the sword that was in his hand toward the city. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the troops in ambush rose quickly out of their place and rushed forward. They entered the city, took it, and at once set the city on fire. So when the men of Ai looked back, the smoke of the city was rising to the sky. They had no power to flee this way or that, for the people who fled to the wilderness turned back against the pursuers. When Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city and that the smoke of the city was rising, then they turned back and struck down the men of Ai. And the other Israelites came out from the city against them, so that they were surrounded by Israelites, some on one side and some on the other. And Israel struck them down until no one was left who survived or escaped. But the king of Ai was taken alive and brought to Joshua. So another atrocity, right? I would say when an entire swarm of people swoop down and kill everybody from a town. I'm assuming it means everybody, right? Like women, children, old people, soldiers. They just kill everybody.
Everybody. And they burn the city down again. Again, let's point out, this is not like there's a territory, there's a city there that you want to claim. No, you want the people and the city gone. Get the fuck out of here because this is all our land. We're starting fresh. We don't want you here.
Well, Yahweh doesn't...
So it's not even about resources.
Yahweh doesn't want the influence of those people because he's not their God. Yeah, they don't worship him. He doesn't have it like that with them.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want them, one rotten apple spoiling the bunch kind of thing. So when Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the open wilderness where they pursued them, and when all of them to the very last had fallen by the edge of the sword, all Israel returned to Ai and attacked it with the edge of the sword. The total of those who fell that day, both men and women, was 12,000, all the people of Ai.
So, let's put this in perspective. The warriors chase the Israelites out. They get ambushed. They kill all the fighting men. Then after they're done killing the actual warriors, the fighters, they went back to the town and killed the children, the women,
people.
The old people. Yeah.
That's like, you know what that's like? That's like that scene.
Fucking throw this chair out this window.
In the second Lord of the Ring movies where the orcs are attacking that fucking castle and the women and children are underneath, you know what I mean? They're hunkered down while that huge battle is going on outside with that one orc that was given the torch and he's running through and he's a suicide bomber and he Helm's Deep, I think. Doesn't matter. Scott's looking at me like he doesn't know
I've read
what
the
I'm
book
talking
when
about.
I was much younger. I saw
Really?
the movies,
You don't
but it
know
was a
the movie
long
like that?
time ago. No, I don't know it like that. I don't know it like that.
That's weird, man. It's weird.
It's my genre, too. I like it.
You do say that. People tend to think that that's what you're into.
Yeah.
Because you're a fucking nerd, Scott. I mean, it's not a surprise why.
Listen, I'm not even... Listen, a lot of people think I'm a sci-fi guy. Yeah. I'm a Star Trek guy. I dabble in Star Wars,
hard
which is
science
fantasy.
fiction.
Hard science fiction I like, yeah. The Martian, fucking, all that stuff.
Right.
So when people talk about random sci-fi shit, I'm like, dude, I know nothing about that.
Right. All right. For Joshua didn't...
But don't get me wrong, I also played Dungeons and Dragons, and I did like the whole Hobbit thing. And as a matter of fact, I'm watching now the Rings of Power.
How is that? Woke.
Okay.
Woke.
So now listen to this.
We talked about this already, by the way. Yeah, we talked about
The only thing woke, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the equivalent to that
Fake
word
news.
is black people.
Fake news.
Black people. People of color. That's what woke is, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing woke about that show.
It's about like, oh, they didn't give that role to a white person because they're trying to be so woke and like, or they're consciously like you know, all these parts used to go to like white people, so let's give these parts to like, you know,
and maybe they audition.
And there's still plenty of white people, right? Like there's
it's 99% white people,
right?
And the black people are like Rihanna black. Like in skin tone, the black that white people find safe.
Yeah.
there's very few people of color.
Yeah. All right. So, for Joshua did not draw back his hand with which he stretched out the sword until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the livestock and the spoil of that city Israel plundered for themselves, according to the word of the Lord that he issued to Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it forever a heap of ruins, as it is to this day. And he hanged the king of Ai on a tree until evening. And at sunset Joshua commanded, and they took his body down from the tree, threw it down at the entrance of the gate of the city, and raised over it a great heap of stones, which stands there to this day. So, you know, Joshua, again, and this is funny because...
You have a dark sense of humor.
Yeah, well, I mean... No, what's funny is Yahweh commands Joshua to raise, like, as a command, to raise his hand and the sword, right? And we're supposed to believe that there's some kind of power coming out. But really all that's going on is they made a good plan to take the city, right? Yeah. And Joshua was like, wait for my command. And then he gave the signal to storm the city by raising his hand and his sword. And he was like, as long as my hand is raised, we are going to like fucking do our thing, right? So what does Yahweh have to do with any of this?
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yahweh's bullshit, man.
Yeah, man.
He's bullshit.
This is just a good plan. But Yahweh gave him the plan. They're bad planners. When Yahweh was not involved, he's like, yeah, send 3,000 men. Asshole.
So,
but let's talk about the king for a second.
Go ahead.
I can almost understand if you're laying siege to a city and they're fighting and you capture the king alive and you fucking spike him to a tree or hang him from a tree in front of the people that you're trying to take over, it's demoralizing, right? It's a tactic. I get it. Everybody was already dead. The king was the only one left. So why the fuck did you hang him? That's straight bloodlust. Why'd you hang him? To show the people of Israel how tough you are?
No, because they're commanded to like kill everyone.
I understand that, but why not kill him right there on the battlefield? Why'd you take him alive to make a show out of him?
Because it's symbolic.
I know. To who?
To the people.
Right. It's fucking bloodlust and disgusting.
They're going to tell stories of like when they killed the king of Ai, and here's the monument to his death, and this is when we took over like fucking this piece of land.
Yeah. Still think these are great people, huh, man?
Great or not, they're my people. Joshua renews the covenant. Oh, so I see. So when Yahweh says, I'm going to curse you, if you fuck up, I'm going to curse you for like 10 generations, and you get all indignant about that, like, oh, how dare he, that's all fucked up. But yet you have no problem like blaming me for like the sins of my ancestors.
No.
Is that how it works?
No. I'm not blaming you for their sins.
I get it. Let's move on. Let's not even
Hold
let
on,
you have an
before we do that, I won't even answer that. I'll skip that. We'll move over. We'll let you get that one in. So I went to watch the Super Bowl with someone who is pretty religious. His family's pretty religious.
Okay.
So I made it a point we're not going to talk about that, but I did ask him one thing. I said, yo, man.
Was this in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a long time, so it was cool.
Great, good. That's nice.
So
I like to hear that.
I said at the end of the game, when they interview the brother who lost, I want just once for them to blame God for the loss. Because the other brother's going to thank God for the win. I want the other brother to blame God for the loss. How come that never happens, man?
Because it's never God's fault. That's just God's plan. When
all right.
When it benefits you, he did it
Fine.
on purpose. When it doesn't benefit you, that's just part of the plan.
So why not say, oh, we won today because that was God's plan. We lost today, but I'm okay with it because that was God's plan. How come we don't get that?
That is good. They should say that. You should become a publicist
For who?
for like an NFL team, and then like you can like train them on what to say in the press.
Or we have to like get jobs where we're infiltrating and sabotaging from within.
Like They Live. You ever see that movie? They
did
Live.
not.
What?
What? No.
All right, you
Sounds
gotta
like a
see
horror
this movie. It's awesome. It's not a horror movie. It's a ridiculous movie, but it's still awesome. It's Rowdy Roddy Piper
What?
and David Keith. You know who David Keith is? Yeah, you do. Yeah, he's this black guy. He's got like a gap tooth. He's like been in a million fucking movies. He does narration for like PBS. He's got like a deep voice. He was
Okay.
great actor. You would know him the second you saw him.
All right.
So the premise of the movie is Rowdy Roddy Piper finds like these glasses, these shades, like these 80s Ray-Bans, and when he puts them on, he could see
some
like
titties?
who aliens are.
Oh.
And aliens have like taken over like our society. And like they're like blasting us with like subliminal like level shit. And so he joins it's like basically remember how shitty like V was on TV? It's kind of like V, but instead of them being lizards and like
They look like us, and they were
lizard
just-
skin underneath, right? You need like glasses, so there's like a whole resistance and blah blah blah. So that was a good movie.
No, really, it was a good movie.
Yes, They Live. I would say it still holds up. It might be like campy in like certain situations, but because of the content, I would say it's worth watching.
I feel like I need to write it down
They-
right now to add to my list.
They Live.
They live.
All right.
Write that down.
So while they live, Joshua is going to renew his covenant. Joshua 30. Joshua 8, right? Verse 30. He says, an altar. He wants to build an altar of unhewn stones.
Here we go with the unhewn stones.
On which no iron tool has been used. So again, this leads me to believe that specifically like Yahweh does not like iron for some reason. Do we have iron in our bodies?
Sure.
It's very possible that Yahweh killed two birds with one stone when he chose the Levites to fucking be the priests.
How so?
Okay. Iron fucking is like kryptonite to him, apparently. No iron tools. You can't use iron on this, right?
Yeah, okay, all right. I'm with you.
And so if people have certain levels of iron, he can tolerate iron just like we can tolerate radiation, but only like we can only tolerate so much radiation. He can only tolerate so much iron, right? And regular people, if he's around regular people too long, it radiates him. But the Levites genetically have lower levels of iron. And so he's like, they can be close to me. And because they have a lack of iron, they're not like good soldiers anyway. So they don't need to be like out fighting battles. So they're going to be the priests. So he's killing two birds with one stone. He's keeping people close to him that he can use to do his
like
bidding.
this, man.
And they don't need to fight like, and other people won't be all like, how come they don't have to fucking fight? So he like created like this role of like priesthood for them, you know?
All right. Okay. So he invented anemia, which I believe is iron deficiency.
Well, yes, it's that's why it's called intelligent design, Scott.
Wow. And that's why a lot of people that are real into this stuff look like they're anemic.
Yeah. So there in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on the stones a copy of the law of Moses. So it's like there was a lot of shit in the law of Moses.
Yeah.
It must have taken a very long time, and a lot of like these like
Joshua
stones.
should have farmed this out to someone like an underling, right?
Yeah, like a million monkeys on typewriters kind of thing.
Like, okay. Yeah, then they start throwing feces and no work gets done. You know how those monkeys act.
You want to get to Joshua 9?
I want to talk about these unhewn stones.
Okay.
No, I don't want to talk about that. We're good. And, all right, blah, 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 blah. I just want to see if I have anything. No. Okay, no, we're good.
Yeah. So that gets us to Joshua 9. The Gibeonites save themselves by trickery.
I'm already a fan.
You like them.
Already. Just from that title.
Okay. So a whole group of like fucking people, you know, the usual cast of characters, the usual suspects.
Some ites, right?
Yeah, the Amorites, the Gibeonites, you know, all those fucking people. They're like, they start plotting together, right? Because, I mean, rightfully so. They're forming like NATO. They're forming a NATO alliance. They see like a threat coming.
Yeah.
Right. But then, you know, they hear about like all of these conquests that are occurring. So they sort of like punk out, you know, they're like, nah, fuck that. Like, we're not going to fight them. Let's pretend we're not from around here.
Love it. Hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. So they stage like this whole elaborate ruse where like they like put on these like costumes, like pretending they've been traveling for like a long time.
They pick out their worn out sandals, worn out flasks, worn out everything.
All that. And
moldy bread.
Yeah. And then they like start walking through the desert like they're like Bedouins, you know? And they run across like the Israelites.
That's a shocking coincidence.
And they say to Joshua, "We are your servants." And Joshua said to them, "Who are you? And where do you come from?" They said to him, "Your servants have come from a very far country because of the name of the Lord your God. For we have heard a report of him, of all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth."
Yeah, so you skipped one sentence, but it followed up. They repeated anyway. "We have come from a far country, so now make a treaty with us." And then they was like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah. Oh, so, I see. Before I started reading. Okay.
So he goes, "We have heard about this stuff." So they kind of said like, now, like we're scared, so we want to join you. Mm-hmm. I would have taken a different tact. I'd have been like, "Yo, we are so down with that shit."
No, I don't agree. I think they're saying, here's their lie. We've heard about how great Yahweh is from a far distance, and we've traveled all this way to be your servants because fucking Yahweh's so fucking
great. So they are down with that. They're pretending to be down with that shit. Yes, okay, right. Okay. I thought it was like, we're scared of you, so we'll join you out of fear.
Yeah, no.
But they were like, no, we're down with this. Yeah. Like, we want to kill some fucking people.
It's kind of like, you know, a losing army taking off their uniforms and putting on the civilian clothing of like the people and pretending like they're just like regular civilians as the defeating army rolls into town.
So, all right, this is a slick move.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've learned from the best.
Yeah. What, Ralph Macchio in The Karate Kid? Because he's the best around.
So unless you have anything to say, I'm going to skip down to 9:15.
Sure.
And Joshua made peace with them, guaranteeing their lives by a treaty. And the leaders of the congregation swore an oath to them. So, you know, so he buys the story and, you know.
Yeah. Starts falling apart pretty quickly, though, right?
Yeah, so of course, you know, the Israelites are going to be like, within like a day or two, they're like, wait a second.
These guys look familiar.
Something's not right about this. Like they roll, you know, like they roll into town with these like servants from quote unquote far away. And people are like looking out the window and they're like, yo, that's George, man. Yo, George. And he's like, I'm George. I'm from far away. Nah, man, you George.
Nah, boy, man.
You owe me $10.
Do you think like all their gear was ragged? Their shit was falling apart, but they had like perfect, clean, thick, black fake mustaches on.
Right. There was like their shoes were like perfect.
Yeah.
It was like Shawshank.
Yeah. But who looks at another man's shoes?
Yeah.
But they took care of that. They did wear the bad sandals.
So I'm gonna skip down to Joshua to 22. Joshua 9, verse 22.
Wait, before you do that.
Sure.
18.
Yes.
But the Israelites didn't, so they're from different cities. Gibeon, Shepharah, Beeroth.
Yeah.
But the Israelites did not attack them because the leaders of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Then all the congregation murmured against the leaders. So they're like, wait a minute. First we let that fucking prostitute go. Now we're going to let these fucking dirt pigs go. Look at their shoes. Come on.
It's bloodlust.
Yeah. And it's also lack of faith in the leadership. I mean, first the failed attack on I. Now this shit.
Right.
Now there's 4 more cities they're not going to have.
Right. So, they got to do something. They got to wag the dog. Right? They got to, stage, something to distract, the fucking masses. So, Joshua summoned them and said to them, "Why did you deceive us, saying, 'We are very far from you,' while in fact you are living among us? Now, therefore, you are cursed, and some of you shall always be slaves, woodcutters, and drawers of water for the house of my God."
Well, I'll tell you this.
Tell me.
First of all, why did you deceive us? That's a dick question. Because you're going to kill us. So, yeah, we're tricking you, motherfucker. Why did you deceive the people in Ai with that ambush? Because you were trying to kill them.
100%.
So it was fucking self-preservation. And I think we are very far from you when, in fact, you were living among us. But they didn't actually mean in the camp. They meant, in the very close cities that they're about to get sacked.
So basically, as you've pointed out, these are different cities. But this is basically the leaders of Boston, Philadelphia, and New York. Here, these people are going to, attack them. So they all get together, and they're like, fuck it, man. We can't really fight them. We're not going to win. There's too many of them. And so we got to, pretend we're not from around here. We're from California.
Do you think George was your cousin from Boston?
No. I don't know what that is.
It's the Sam Adams commercials.
I don't watch anything with commercials.
Oh, right. You're a streaming kind of guy. You're a cord cutter.
Unless I'm watching, sports, but they don't play that commercial.
Sports ball.
So it continues. So after Joshua, admonishes them, and he's like, "You're going to be our fucking slaves," they answered Joshua, "Because it was told to your servants for a certainty that the Lord your God has commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. So we were in great fear for our lives because of you, and did this thing. And now we are in your hand. Do as it seems good and right in your sight to do to us." I mean, that's a very logical explanation.
It's very honest, but like I said earlier, yes, admit you're fearful. But I would have done it like this. Yo, me and my people, we don't want to die. But not only do we not want to die, we're down for what you're doing, man. Don't fucking kill us. Just let us join you. We can kill motherfuckers too.
Yeah.
So I would have act more not just I'm scared. I would have been like, I want to kill like you do. Down with Yahweh.
The
Yahweh's
voodoo that you do.
Yeah. Hoodoo you voodoo, bitch.
This is what he did for them, Joshua. He saved them from the Israelites. So the Israelites are still rabble. He saved them from the Israelites.
They all look like Pigpen from Charlie Brown.
From what?
Pigpen from Charlie Brown.
Gross.
There's clouds around them.
That's fucking racist, man.
No, not the Israelites. The Gibeonites.
Damn. Oh, that's even worse.
Well, they did it on purpose. They're
not even here to defend themselves, man.
How do you know they're not here? They're amongst you.
You're not allowed to make fun of anyone.
Oh, sorry.
Fucking boomer.
Pigpen.
This is what he did for them. He saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. But on that day, Joshua made them woodcutters and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, to continue to this day in the place that he should choose. This is like an excuse. If you want to be racist against some people, you just say, oh, these are the people that the Bible's talking about. So, if you're living, in this region of the world, in this, little strip of land, you could say the Palestinians, for example. Oh, the Palestinians to this day, they're just nothing but woodcutters and drawers of water. Or if it's the Kurds, you could say, oh, the Kurds it says so in the Bible. So you can pick any group of people and fucking assign this to them.
That's fantastic. I actually had this highlighted, and I said, does this underclass still exist today?
Yeah, it says.
Well, this is when it was written. But does it still exist today in 2023?
I'm reading it today.
You're right. But I don't think they're referencing today as in 2023. This is today 6,000 years ago.
Oh, I think the people that are reading this Bible say, oh, today. To this day, motherfucker.
So is this? Is this like we're just making the underclass do the manual labor, while the ruling class doesn't do any of the manual labor?
Well, in fairness, they did throw themselves at the mercy of Joshua and said, "We are your servants."
You know the song "Silent Running" by Mike and the Mechanics?
I know Mike and the Mechanics.
They have a song called "Silent Running."
Take these broken tears
Wings.
and
And that's
learn
Mr.
to
Mister,
love
man.
again.
That's Mr. Mister. That's not Mike and the Mechanics. Mike and the Mechanics has a song called, well, they do In the Living
In
Years.
the
which is
Living
really sad.
Years.
Yeah, that's a really
That's the
hard,
one I know.
That's a real tearjerker. There's a song called Silent Running.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically about you're being invaded by a superior force.
Mm-hmm.
Just bow down, because for someday sons and daughters will rise up where
Yep.
we stood still. So this is like, these are Mike and the
So
Mechanics.
for
these people.
all the 18 to 25-year-olds,
Listen to that
we
song.
grew up during what was called the Cold War, and the threat of war against the Soviet Union was very real. Today, that's like the equivalent of like what's happening with Russia right now, which is kind of like the Soviet Union.
Sure.
Putin was an agent of the Soviet Union. He was like the bureau chief of East Berlin, and he was in the KGB bureau chief of East Berlin, and he was in East Berlin when the fucking wall came down.
That had to be a kick
and
to
he
the
was
dick.
just like, holy fucking shit. And like he vowed to like restore like,
Could you
Russia to
imagine?
its glory.
Let's just put ourselves in Putin's place for a second. Not to be an apologist like Roger Waters, but let's put ourselves in his place. He watches the Berlin Wall fall on accident, by the way, because of a miscommunication, and his whole dream of being a fucking tyrannical asshole falls apart. He didn't know 30 years later what would be happening. And then days later, like watching David Hasselhoff sing with a leather jacket that has LEDs, light bulbs all over it. Yeah. Can you imagine that? That'd be
Culture shock.
Yeah, that.
It's like living in a
And
bunker.
we wonder why he's such an asshole now, right? This guy needs help, man. He needs therapy. Yeah.
So dead air, Scott. Dead air's not good for a
I'm gonna
fucking
say
radio
this,
show.
So I'm gonna say this, Joshua. Man, fuck you. We're off and running. It's just like it's Moses Part 2.
All right.
And the congregation, fuck you too. This is just insanity what you're doing.
All right. So you do not approve of how they are building their state.
Nope.
How would you have built a state?
You do it on the sly. You come over. You pretend to be friendly with the natives. You poison them with some fucking European diseases. Bring that population down. And then when you got to build some shit up, you go to some other place and you bring some hardy workers from another place to help you build stuff.
I think it's reasonable to say the way to have done it would have been to just go to outright war with the warriors, but don't like maybe kill the women and the children and like set fire and like all that other stuff.
Yeah, you can listen. This could be your manifest destiny, but did you have to do it the way you did it?
Right, you didn't have to genocide.
And you know what? If I have to look in a mirror and face what America did, these people need to face what the fuck they did.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
Everybody's
yeah.
got to face what they did.
Yeah.
I guess that's too woke. Wake the fuck up and look in a mirror, bitches.
Word. For the 18 to 24-year-olds.
That's gnarly, man.
All right. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.